Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing my beloved green-black Turbodepths. Our win condition, Marit Lage. We get it off the Dark Depths either using Hexmage or Thespian stage. We have a bunch of ways of finding these cards, Sylvan Scrying and crop rotation, and Once Upon a Time to smooth our early draws. We have fast mana to power it out, and we have various ways of protecting, from disrupting our opponent's hand, to stopping things like Wasteland, Caracas, or just protecting it from Swords to Plowshares and the like. We have a few silver bullets in the land, like Sejiri Steppe, Ghost Quarter, Boseiju, and Bojuka Bog. And that is pretty much the deck. I play this quite a lot on the channel. It's very much my deck. I run the Turbodepths Discord, which is my Discord, and I have a huge guide to this deck, over 50 pages on my Patreon. So if this deck interests you, check that out. I also have many more videos of Turbodepths on my channel, so have a look at those if this deck appeals to you. Sideboard-wise, what are we looking at? Well, this is the sideboard plan I've been on for a while. We've got ourselves some Graveyard Hate we can find off of Once Upon a Time to complement our Bojuka Bog in the main deck. We've got ourselves some Collector Ouphe that we can find off of Once Upon a Time, so I'm not on the null rods at the moment. We have one Duress rounding it out. This is an interesting selection. This could be tweaked for something else. Same with the Boseiju. These are like the flex slots in the sideboard in my mind. We've got another Not of This World when we need to protect against various removal, along with the Sylvan Safekeeper, which can again be found off of Once Upon a Time. So we're really leaning into the Once Upon a Time and making sure that it can find various pieces we need. And of course, Abrupt Decay. This is a pinpoint removal spell for something that we don't want to see. Whether that's Blood Moon, Opposition Agent, Ensnaring Bridge, that sort of thing. This is a card that is reliable at doing what it does. It's very hard to stop this. And it answers most of the problem permanents that we're worried about. Alright, that's a deck tech. Like I said, if you want more information, I've got loads more of that for you. Just check in the description of the video and there'll be some links you can follow. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5k subscribers by my birthday in April, so why not hit that subscribe button and help me out. And if you really want to help out, become a YouTube member for just £1 a month and you can see my videos early. Alright, let's jam some 2020 action. Right, welcome to round one. Our hand is far too slow for what we want to be playing in Legacy. Let's mulligan this. Okay, I don't mind this. This is turn 2 with protection. I think we get rid of this Sylvan Scrying. We have a choice to make about this Lotus Petal. We can play it out to dodge the... Get rid of the Sylvan Scrying here. We can play out the Lotus Petal to dodge hand disruption on it. Or we can play it out to... Or we can keep it in hand to avoid Prismatic Ending. Prince mulligan to 5. That makes me want to play it out. They're more likely to be a sort of combo-y deck, I would imagine. So protecting it from discard is more important here. Because this is a green source. Like, we could play out the Hexmage, but then it could just go into removal, which is way more likely. But the Lotus Petal represents a green source as well. A mountain. An Ether Vial. We good old-fashioned goblins here. We could be good old-fashioned goblins. We'll do this now because we know our opponent's deck has Wastelands. We already have a removal spell covered. Not that there's many of them in our opponent's deck. Probably Sting Scourge's the only one. I have to assume they're on goblins. I can't think of any other red Ether Vial deck. Alright, they're going to put this on goblin. They think they've got something here. There is the Sting Scourger. We will say no to that and hopefully win the game. Alright. What does our opponent have access to here? It's been a hot minute since I've played against the old goblins. They're probably going to have some Blood Moon effects, so we probably want some Abrupt Decays here. They're not going to be bouncing our creatures that often. So, like, the Not of This World did obviously come in clutch there, but it's not going to be like that most of the time. They could have Dead and Gone, I suppose. But if we're boarding in all these Abrupt Decays, we're probably boarding out some Once Upon a Times. We can get rid of this Bojuka Bog. That gets us 4 Abrupt Decays. Do we want access to a Boseiju here? I think we probably do. I like being able to disrupt our opponent a little bit. Probably get rid of one Not of This World to fit that Boseiju in. Sure, that seems fine. This matchup should be pretty solid. Not too worried about getting Blood Mooned. This is a turn 1 2020 with protection. We keep those. What do you got, opponent? Land. Ether Vial. And one of I'm not expecting Mind Break Trap out of our opponent here. That'd be a really weird thing to board against Turbodepths. And play another Lotus Petal. I think we're going to go get a Bayou here. Just in case something goes really wrong. So in case they've got like some sort of pitch spell. I don't know if there's an instant speed one actually. Let's turn this into a Dark Depths. Let's cast our Hexmage. And we'll make it now to dodge Wasteland. Once again, we have the Not of This World. They probably have one Sting Scourger in their deck. They don't have the mana to cast a Dead and Gone, but obviously we can counter if they do. Let's see what you're up to. So I wanted to keep the basic Swamp because that way we have 9 green sources in our deck if we need to Abrupt Decay something later on. There's the Wasteland we just played around. And there's the match. All right, a quick 2-0 there. Did not take a great number of minutes. We're both still over 22 minutes on our clock. That is the power of Turbodepths sometimes. Let's go to round 2. Welcome to round 2. Our hand does not have access to a Dark Depths, so we're going to mulligan it. This hand does have access to a Dark Depths. So what does this hand do for us? We go turn 1, Bayou Thoughtseize. Turn 2, Dark Depths, Crop Rotate, kill them. Okay, I'm down to climb on that. We probably put back the Pithing Needle. I think just having the Thoughtseize is the most important piece here. Worst case scenario, we Crop Rotate away something in response. So we keep this, and I'll get rid of this Needle. Let's do the Thoughtseize stuff. Okay. I'm going to take your Swords to Plowshares, please. Alright, we're up against a lands matchup. These matchups are horrible. But, you know, we still won them like a good 40% of the time. And we certainly have a hand that can do some real work here. So we need to make a decision of what we're playing around. We could play around Wasteland here, which I think is correct. I don't believe they can Thespian stage our thing this turn. There's a Thespian stage of their own. This matchup does not get better over time, so I am going to Crop Rotate now. Stage. Our opponent beats us with a Crop Rotation here. But like I said, this doesn't get better for us. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What are they doing? They have a Crop Rotation of their very own. I told you Crop Rotation beats us here. They should let this trigger resolve. Yep. So we do this, they wasteland this. Then we're in the dirt. We have to keep this one to make our 2020. But also we don't just want to leave a Dark Depths in play when our opponent has the Thespian stage. Alright. So if we go before then, the Crop Rotation could just get Caracas and beat us. Right, we're going to get Bayou and we're going to Inquisition our opponent here. We know they've got a Sylvan Library. That's a sort of card that can snowball out. Can this copy any land in a graveyard? Any land in a graveyard. Okay, so they have a route to the combo here. So they can Echoing Deeps copying our Dark Depths in the graveyard. And we're just absolutely ruined here. I did say this matchup was difficult. There is the stage. Pithing Needle. I hate to do it, but it's what we have to do. Not even Thespian stage. I think it would be perfectly suitable to scoop in that situation as well. After they wastelanded our thing. They needed to have exactly Crop Rotation there. I guess Swords to Plowshares is also fine. Like they have a number of different outs. So this probably becomes a copy of our Dark Depths. No, it's just going to be a Wasteland. Sure. Alright, I think we're just going to scoop here. I think we are too far behind. So, what are we going to do for this one? Discard spells, no good. Not of This World, very useful. Sylvan Safekeepers, useful. Boseiju, useful. I don't hate having... I guess they do have access to Swords to Plowshares, so maybe we need a couple of Duresses still. Sorry, Inquisitions. And let's get rid of this Boseiju for 1 Duress. Is that true? We're kind of boarding in these things which do similar jobs, to be honest. So maybe we'll have a couple of Decays instead. Just for some problem permanents like our opponent's Pithing Needles they get off of the Ezra Saga and stuff. But yeah, this is generally a matchup where we need to go quickly. Because every turn that goes by, our opponent gets more and more pieces that effectively lock us out of the game. It feels like it's going to be an absolute reverse version of the first round where we just clowned our opponent immediately and now we're the ones getting clowned. Okay, I can deal with this. we have a Pithing Needle. That's a really key card in this matchup. Let us cast this without paying mana costs. Okay, we just get a land. That's what we can get. I think we play out the Urborg here. Deploy the Pithing Needle. Name Wasteland. Now the problem is, our opponent also has Maze of Ith and Karakas that can deal with our Marit Lage. It is going to be a tough one. They can also sometimes have hands that combo just as fast as ours. Okay, they have no turn 1 expiration or anything. That's something. Once upon a time that we're not casting here. I think this is basic Forest O'Clock. It's Dark Depths. So we have to be really cagey because we can't ever float a Dark Depths in play. Another choice we had that turn was to use our Lotus Petal. We could use our Lotus Petal and then put the stage in play. That is a fine option too. But I want to be able to use this Abrupt Decay underneath Wastelands and stuff from our opponent. If they get rid of this somehow. A Savannah. We're going to see something like a library here. We are. So this is a thing we can blow up that is worth our time. Green and black. Goodbye, Sylvan Library. I'll play this Lotus Petal. The only way they're really going to blow this up is a Boseiju, and that doesn't really matter. This allows us to cast a Once Upon a Time if we need it. So if we cast a Once Upon a Time, we could find a Sylvan Safekeeper, which again is going to be an important card in this matchup, and hopefully allow us to push through. A Knight of the Reliquary. Yep, that is a pretty fine Magic the Gathering card right there. Alright, Once Upon a Time. We need you to help us out. Find us that Sylvan Safekeeper. We did find the Sylvan Safekeeper. Sejiri Steppe might be useful. So we're going to get the Safekeeper down first. Are we making the 2020 now? It stops things like Boseiju from interacting with us, so I think it's correct to do it now. We have 2 protection bubbles. It's just Sylvan Safekeeper and Marit Lage versus the world. 2 friends together at last. The smallest of creatures and the largest of creatures. They've got 6 cards in hand though. There's a lot they could have. So they have one answer because the knight can just go and find a Karakas or a Maze of Ith or whatever. So if they've got a plough in hand, so we can cover 2. But if they have a third piece that does anything, so they need to have 2 cards in hand that interact with our current board. They might have something like an Endurance, which is kind of awkward for us. They could also make their own 2020 here. But we can cover that by giving this protection from black, which I think is the play here. Although if we give it protection from black, then we have to give it Shroud if they have something else. It's a little awkward. A Pithing Needle. We can force the action on the Knight of the Reliquary here. Okay. Knight of the Reliquary. Play this out. We give our creature protection from black. We have 3 Shroud Bubbles to deliver to this. It could have an Endurance, but if we get protection from green, we lose the Safekeeper protection. Or we lose that as an option. So they have Endurance into making a 2020 the following turn. That could leave us in an awkward spot. Our opponent has a far deeper lands package of stuff they can manipulate the game with. We have to work very hard here. We name black. And we go to attacks. If they have Endurance, then it just chump blocks for a turn, and then the knight isn't getting value every turn. And we have 3 bubbles of protection. What is your answer here, opponent? Is it just an Endurance? I think that's the only thing that keeps them alive unless they've got Glacial Chasm. Don't know how we're being Glacial Chasm right now. It's going to take numerous turns to get through that. Surgical Extraction targeting Abrupt Decay. So our opponent does have the Endurance, that's what this tells me. Or they just want to see how we sideboarded. Hopefully they just want the information. But I think we can still beat an Endurance here. Because they need to have another answer the following turn. But we definitely can't afford to ever give this pro-green when we've got a Sylvan Safekeeper sat next to it. That is not a thing that works well for us. Feels like our opponent might have a crop rotation here, the amount of time they're spending, because if it was just something in hand with the text of whatever is in their hand on it, they could work out what the play is here. But they're taking a long time, which is making me believe they have something that goes into their deck to find something. They're trying to work out what it is they want to grab. Right, here we go. Here's the crop rotation. All right, they didn't have anything. Excellent. Shows you the lengths we have to go to there. We have to check a lot of boxes. Do we want to do anything differently here? Tempted to get rid of a Bojuka Bog for another Abrupt Decay, since they are a lands deck, not a... Sorry, they're a green-white depths deck, not a lands deck. I mistook what they were. But if we're boarding in the Not of This World and the Abrupt Decays, is there anything else we want to cut here? Like, once upon a time, finding the Sylvan Safekeeper is really key here. I don't think we can get rid of fast mana, because we need to go under what our opponent's doing. The one thing we can trim here is a Bayou, because we've already boarded in a Boseiju. So I think I might have a Thoughtseize here. Is that better than a Decay? Yeah, I think on the play we want the Decay. Sorry, on the draw we want the Decay, because we're going to be a little bit behind our opponent. Well, well, well. This is a real hit and hope on this Once Upon a Time. But I don't think this wins against our opponent most of the time anyway, even if this does hit. So I think we need to mulligan this. Okay. The Not of This World makes me want to keep this hand. So what does this hand actually do for us? We can go turn 1, Sylvan Scrying, turn 2, attack for 2, crop rotate. This works. I'm just trying to work out what the card that goes back is. I don't know if it's fast mana or if it's the Bayou. I think it might be the Elvish Spirit Guide here. Is it the Spirit Guide or is it the Lotus Petal? It might be the Lotus Petal. Because you already have multiple black, and the surprise of the Elvish Spirit Guide can mess up their wasteland lines. Alright, I think I'm going to go... Basically, we can force errors out of our opponent due to them not having full information. Whereas if they have the Lotus Petal in play, they're like, okay, I know what this is all about. Okay, this is a turn 2 attempt with Not This World backup. We're just going to see a Lush Portico, I suspect, here. If we see our opponent tap out, we probably just make the 20/20 and hope that we can get through. Sylvan Library. That's a lot of looks. So, we could leave this as a surprise for our opponent and try and crop rotate. Or we could try and play around the wasteland. I think we just pass here and try and force our opponent into an error. So our opponent has to have kept their hand on the basis of something, right? So if we want them to use some of their mana so they have less chance of leveraging those cards in their hand. I think sending it there is also reasonable. Our opponent has to have 2 answers for what we have. A Windswept Heath, okay. They're going to tap out for a Knight here. That would be the perfect situation for us. That's what we're trying to bait them into. Because if they're going to keep up the cards they kept their hand for, that's going to suck for us. A Prismatic Ending. I would like to cast this crop rotation. So this is the situation we wanted, where our opponent's mana is tapped, so they have less interaction. If they have crop rotation exactly here, they guess. There's only so many things we can play around. So the Prismatic Ending plus crop rotation would have beaten us if we did the other line anyway. Right, they've let this go through. Okay. We're in a spot that might work. They're going to let our mana burn off and then attempt to kill it in the second main phase. Hopefully our Not This World will get through. Surgical Extraction on Dark Depths. Sure. We have an answer to the one thing you can have. Alright, we're all in on this first copy of Marit Lage. And I believe in it. If they have Solitude in their deck randomly, which you don't really see in these green-white depths, because they have so many lands, they don't really have the white cards to pitch to it. That is something that could beat us. I think we might be okay here. Does it matter what land we play here? I don't believe so. Protect it with a Not of This World. Bash for lethal. Alright. So, that was a pretty interesting game with hopefully a lot of stuff to learn from it. So, I mentioned that this matchup is bad, right? So understanding the context of the matchup means that when we're playing it out, if our opponent is untapping with 3 mana and a Sylvan Library, and we just have a Marit Lage in play, the chances of us making it round the table with just one Not of This World is very slim, right? It's just not a thing that's going to happen. So our opponent thought, like, we had a play where our opponent thought, okay, we can take this out and get something. And we did that. And I said right from the top, we were going to keep the Elvish Spirit Guide as a way of tricking our opponent. If we had the Lotus Petal in play that whole time, then they would have just known that we could have crop rotated and would have played that hand entirely differently. So our decision with our mulligan and what we were doing, based on the knowledge of the matchup, completely changed the texture of this game and allowed us to squeak out that win that was very difficult. All right, I hope that was an informative experience for you fellow Turbodepths out there. Let's go to round 3. This is a turn 3 combo attempt. We'll keep this. We have 2 different forms of protection. We don't really get to Thoughtseize our opponent, but we can take a turn off if we feel that's necessary. Urza Saga. Just straight up Urza Saga. What are we doing here? I am interested to see what our opponent's doing now. I think we need to spend this Lotus Petal to Thoughtseize our opponent. Like, we need to know if they are like Painter or if they're like Saga Storm. We need to know. Force of Will to Faerie Time Raveler. Okay. What does that tell us? Force of Will to Faerie Time Raveler and Urza Saga. So our opponent's playing Cephalid Breakfast. That's what that tells us. That is good information to know. Our lands are not going to be under attack. We always want this Thespian stage out. So I'm going to play this out first. I'm going to play out this Pithing Needle. We can name Urza Saga. We don't care about the construct. We do care about Shuko, and they are showing that they have a route towards Shuko. So I think we name Shuko here. So that Thoughtseize completely changed the dynamic of how I was thinking about this game. My brain was more, okay, this is looking like a Painter deck, or something like that. Curie. Oh, are we on Dreadnought? Maybe we're on Dreadnought. That is a very different kettle of fish there, isn't it? So we need to Sylvan Scrying here. We go and get the Dark Depths. Then any piece of fast mana gives us the combo next turn. So this means Wasteland is a thing that should be on the menu. So this Pithing Needle should have named Wasteland. So the context of this entire match has switched several times already. Yep, so they're going to get a big guy. Are they just going to turn Curie into a 12-12? Pretty good. Pretty good. So we take 12 this turn. If we don't find an Elvish Spirit Guide, we lose. They probably would Force of Will a... Because they're going to draw 12 cards here, right? That's how this works. So they would probably Force of Will a Lotus Petal here. So we need to find the... We also need to get through Swords to Plowshares that our opponent almost certainly has, but at least buys us time. I don't believe we can win this game. Well, we can obviously win this game, but I don't believe winning this game is a realistic thing. Hallowed Fountain is interesting. Are they running 4 Tundras? Or is this budgetary concerns? Or is there some really weird Death Shadow stuff ticking around? It is also possible they don't have a Force of Will, so maybe a Lotus Petal will do here. Maybe they don't have a Swords to Plowshares. But they could have found a Wasteland and didn't play one, which is kind of interesting. Maybe they can't fit Sagas and Wastelands in. Hard to say. Certainly a tricky matchup for us, though. Playing a Tamiyo. Our opponent's obviously taking a long time because they've got a lot of cards to sort through when they're clean-up step today. We drew a Thoughtseize. I think we're just dead. Let's just go to the sideboard. So our opponent might have Harbinger of the Seas. Unlikely, but possible. So things that are useful here is a whole bunch of stuff. Alright, so we've got a selection of stuff we can take out here. I think we need to have access to things that protect our creature. And we also want some Abrupt Decays here. Quite where we fit them in is a little bit trickier though. I guess we get rid of this last Once Upon a Time. Just get this Abrupt Decay in, so we're boarding in lots and lots of this sort of sideboard type stuff here. So we get 2, 3 decays. And that's probably about all we get. I think that's fine. This hand really, really wants that crop rotation to resolve, doesn't it? We can go on turn 2 with Sylvan Safekeeper back up though. Alright, I'm finding this acceptable. Because they have things like Prismatic Ending, I don't want to play out this Lotus Petal. We're just going to pass a turn here. We could play out Lotus Petal so our crop rotation is less likely to get dazed. But we keep this. This is our only black mana in case we find hand disruption. Probably going to see a ponder here. There it is. So this crop rotation getting counted is kind of a big deal. Excellent. This is what we wanted. We'll play this out. We'll Thoughtseize our opponent. And now we get to take a little look. They did float the cards on top, so they might have something really good that we can't touch here. Force of Will is what they're going for here. I'll play this land out. We will attack for 1. Unlikely to be relevant, but you never know. We don't beat a second Force of Will. I wonder what they were preserving in their hand. Brainstorm. That's pretty strong. I wonder what they thought was worth preserving. Probably, no, it wouldn't even be a plow on this board, right? Because of the Safekeeper. Sejiri Steppe. That allows us to push through a blocker like Tamiyo next turn. I'm not expecting anything that can kill our guy. So we're going to crop rotate in our opponent's turn and hope it works, I guess. The idea is that our opponent taps out of something, taps out for something even, and then they have less mana to interact with us. They left a card on top. Not a big fan of seeing that. They have a Wasteland. That's obviously pretty good. An Urza Saga. That's fine. We could just play the weird Urza Saga game where we steal their Saga. I don't think that's how we win this game. Let's get rid of this Thespian stage. Let's get the Darkdepths. Let's target this. We can beat a plow here. They didn't stifle us, so that's nice. We have 1 protection bubble with a Safekeeper. Next turn we can play this. Give it protection from something. A Dress Down. That's so annoying. That's really good here. So if we give it Shroud now, they plow. So we have to let this happen. And then they can plow this and we can't protect it with the Safekeeper. At least it's a path, I suppose. That's something, isn't it? Jeez. That has not gone to plan. Sylvan Scrying. Let's get back in it. Let's get this Darkdepths while we know our opponent can't counter anything. Do we think our opponent has access to Wastelands? They should do. But we kind of don't get the choice to play around that when they're threatening Construct and a Dreadnought soon. Yeah, this matchup is pretty horrible for numerous reasons, as you can clearly see. At least 5 single white spells that kill our guy. They've got Pithing Needle in their deck. They've got counter spells for our crop rotations. They got Teferi, which can lock us out of doing stuff in their turn or protecting our guy. It's not ideal. And the Saga is actually really interesting because excuse me, it allows them to hold up mana and still deploy stuff to the board if we don't do anything. Right, so attacking is now a thing of the past with our little Safekeeper. We did find a Thespian stage though. So they're going to make a construct here. I believe we do this in their upkeep. We have 2 Sylvan Safekeeper bubbles. There's a Stifle. Yep, another card that is obviously pretty good. We can try again next turn, but they might just have a Pithing Needle they get here. Unless they think it's worth getting a Dreadnought. I think they just get the Pithing Needle here. That's the safest play. We do have these Abrupt Decays we boarded in. Alright, we'll take 3. A Spirit Guide. This doesn't feel like the one, does it? But I think using this to push through a potential blocker is a useful thing to be doing. Right. We obviously can't use our Thespian stage yet because of the Pithing Needle either. We could have started removing counters from Darkdepths, but we're going to die before then anyway. Do you know what we don't have? A second black mana. I don't think I want this Elvish Spirit Guide either. We've got 1 more turn. Doorkeeper Thrall. Sure. Okay. They have a large creature. We are intending to make a larger creature. But they do get to crack for 4, 8, 9 here. What does this do for us? I don't think we can win this one because we block this, we block one of these, we take 5. That's not what we need, is it? Cameo. And there's Urborg. I'll turn too late, unfortunately. Have they got a Force of Will as well? They do not. So we have lost this game, I believe. But opponents can make mistakes. Okay, we've got some Hallowed Fountains on the other side over there. So they might have a Teferi as well. They could have all sorts. They could have Stifle here. We're very cold to most of the things in our opponent's deck at this point. Alright, it's just a brainstorm. So they're flipping a Tamiyo. That doesn't matter here. It can't buy anything back this turn. They do just have lethal on the crackback here. But hopefully they won't see it, I guess. Right, we go 2020. Now our opponent, all they have to do is click attack with all creatures and we die here. But we are representing an Abrupt Decay. So maybe our opponent has to think about that. And if they want to keep back the Doorkeeper Thrall. Which unfortunately will still kill us. A Dreadnought, that pumps the size of their construct. Yep, they are just going in with everything. Yep, we lost that game a little while ago. But yeah, it's a tricky matchup. We've taken our first loss of the league. And let's go to round 4. Alright, so we're on the play for round 4. What does this hand do? We can Thoughtseize on 1. Hold up crop rotation. We've got to go through a lot of hoops to get it going. We can just get something stronger here. I don't really think this one's stronger. It does get there, but it takes some time. I think we can go better than this. I said I think we can go better. I don't think my deck heard me. Should we go to 4? We have what? Thoughtseize on 1. Or Pithing Needle on 1. And then we Sylvan Scrying. I think we can do better on 4. Okay. When we're this low down, there is an argument to keep this and hope that we can spike what we need. The problem is we need the green mana, so we can't afford to have the Pithing Needle. So we have to choose what we're losing to here. Or we can go to 3 cards. There are 3 card combinations that work for us. Alright, so let's mulligan. Okay. I'll take this. So we don't get to play this. We don't get to play this. We can keep them once upon a time and just try and spike the Urborg. We're already in a horrible position because of this mulligan. We could just try and high roll here. I think that is our best route to the combo, to be honest. It's awkward, but I guess we're doing it. Sometimes you mulligan into oblivion. A Bayou, a Thespian stage. I guess I'll take the Bayou. So we could play out the Bayou, or we could play out the Dark Depths. If we play out the Dark Depths, we draw an Urborg or a piece of fast mana next turn, we get to go. If we play out the Bayou, we have to draw a piece of fast mana. So this gives us more draws to combo on turn 2. So I'm going to play this out. Like, we're already under the gun. We can't afford to play like a considered game where we try and get through everything our opponent has. We just have to try and maximize our chances to hit the combo. And there's the Saga. Okay. So we've got 8 draws that let us combo this turn. That is one of them. I don't know what flavor of Urza Saga deck our opponent is. Do I think our opponent has anything that can answer this? I guess we make it now. There's less ways of killing a 2020 out of an Urza Saga deck. Like, Wastelands are a thing they could have if they're on like a land strategy. If they're Painter, then ridiculous. Alright, I don't think our opponent is very happy with us. Alright, we won on the Malta 3. Not too shabby. We don't really know what our opponent's playing. We just saw an Urza Saga. So the main culprits would be some kind of lands deck, or a Painter deck, or some kind of Saga Storm deck. It's hard to say. I think we're probably going to want these Collector Ouphes. This probably isn't going to be a Not of This World matchup. I could be wrong. I'm going to assume it's like Painter, Saga Storm, or something. Like, lands is a bad matchup anyway, so, you know, we could just get clowned by that and that's fine. Pithing Needles are good. I would like some amount of Abrupt Decay here. And I would like this Boseiju. The Boseiju comes in over a Bayou here. Actually, no, we get rid of Bojuka Bog first, and then maybe get rid of the Bayou as well. So, if we want these Abrupt Decays, we need to keep the once upon a times because they're fishing out our Collector Ouphes. which means that we are probably trimming on something like Inquisition to get 2 Abrupt Decays in. And then we can reappraise the situation. We get 3 Abrupt Decays in. Okay, that's good. That is the correct number to have in. Know what your deck is capable of and play to your outs. What does this hand do? We have basic lands. If they are a Blood Moon deck, like Painter, this hand is really good. I just have this feeling that our opponent's playing Painter. I don't know why. But if there's Saga Storm, this is also good. I don't know. I'm going to keep this hand. I've just got a vibe about it. You know, sometimes you get a vibe. We might have the wrong read. I don't know. But we kind of got a freebie. So let's, I guess, give our opponent a freebie by keeping this hand. This is not a hand I would generally keep. But we have both of our basics and the Abrupt Decay. So we have, like, really solid interaction here. Here is the Mountain. Here is the Welder. Oh, look at this. This is going to be beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to play this once upon a time. We'll find us a Boseiju. Okay. It's not really where we want to be, but I'll take it still. I'm going to play this Forest. I'm going to cast this Pithing Needle. I'm going to name Goblin Welder, I think. And then I'll pass. This is a very solid matchup for us anyway. A Goblin Engineer, sure. We can blow this up if we need to. I'm playing a weird control-y style game here, which is not where I expected us to be. The Dragon Engine. It's not a thing I particularly care about. Another Pithing Needle. So we could name Goblin Engineer if we want to. Goblin Engineer, I think. So now we have a choice whether or not we play out this Lotus Petal, giving us the ability to Abrupt Decay if something goes really wrong. If they're playing a Lion's Eye Diamond build, I would like at least the ability to interact with our opponent's combo, if that's what happens. Like, if our hand isn't making a 20-20 by turn 2, it's going to be having these little bits. I would rather have one of these on something like an Ezra Saga, to be honest with you. But the situation we're in, they don't even have an artifact anyway, so they might not have got anything with the Engineer. A Brayer's Apprentice. That can produce some flying blockers. Right, we need some more ways of putting lands out our deck. Okay, what does this do for us? We play out the Dark Depths here. We can crop rotate and combo this turn. We'll see what our opponent is up to. A Painter's Servant. That is interesting. So now we have a Boseiju. That makes things really awkward here. Because the Red Blast can come and get us. So if we Abrupt Decay this now, they will just Red Blast this. If we try and combo now, they can just Red Blast us. It's kind of a little bit awkward either way here, isn't it? Alright, I think we're going to just Abrupt Decay and take our licks with losing the Dark Depths here. We could crop rotate it away, but then we might just draw a Thespian stage. We might just draw another Dark Depths. So we're best just to let this happen. Alright, they want to get rid of the Welder. The one that's naming Welder, that's interesting. Okay. So they can let this die and then they can welder it back in. Or they can welder this right now, get some value. But they don't really know what they're drawing at this point. So we're kind of in the same spot we were in just before. Do I think our opponent has some action here? Like, how are they going to deal with our 2020? We make this now, we dodge Pyroblast. That's what I'm thinking. Green mana is easier for us to come by. So we're going to crop rotate away this Forest. And then we're going to make this. And we'll be holding up this Boseiju. Because once we have the 2020, this Boseiju costs 1 less to activate. They have a Thought token. We can always blast that out of the way if we need to. But we can also deal with a Ensnaring Bridge potentially. And there's a Saga. Sure. No attacks here. A crop rotation. Kind of awkward, actually. Right, I think we would just Boseiju away this token now. They know we have this Boseiju because they saw it earlier off of Once Upon a Time. They might have forgotten though. I suspect our opponent has something. Right, they're exiling top card of their library. A Lotus Petal. They get some more mana here. They have Dead Gone, that's going to be pretty solid. Yeah, they get to redo this, don't they? Whoops. That was a little bit loose from me, I'm afraid. So they can just kind of keep this up, really, can't they? What we should have done is played out the Collector Ouphe. Do we attack here? I don't think we do. Like, we shred this, and then this goes and comes back again. What is our solution to getting through this? So I have to block with a Thoughtseize token, so we're just taking more artifacts out of play for them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like how I've played this game, actually. I was kind of unsettled from the opening because we had a weird keep. Yeah, we should have just played the Ouphe here, so they can't activate the Apprentice. Alright, they've just got more fuel. So they attack with a bunch of stuff. They unlock the Welder. I forgot this could sacrifice itself, if I'm being perfectly honest. I was thinking they can't Welder it twice, but the Brayer's Apprentice being able to sack itself is something I should have really paid attention to. My bad. You don't see a lot of these in painted builds. That's not really an excuse. Thoughtseize, that doesn't help here. I guess we just pass. I think our opponent has this one. Yeah, so you have to play out the Collector Ouphe and then wait for another green source. But I suspect they're going to have access to something off of this Urza Saga that we're not going to enjoy. And now they're just spinning around. Like, I think we still lose this game if we don't make that mistake. But we need another green source. And our opponent's Urza Saga would have run its course by now. And if they have something useful off this, then sure. Obviously, it was still an objective mistake to use that Boseiju. That could have been a green source for something else, like casting the Collector Ouphe. Obviously, we would probably use the Petal to cast the Ouphe. Then we might have a spare green source kicking around. So they can weld in the Painter and just grindstone us now. I suspect they'll do that in our upkeep. This is a line they wouldn't have had access to if we went the other way. They would have had to make enough guys to go wide of us. So at the end step, they're going to weld in the Painter. Yeah, we'll just scoot that one up. Yeah, that was my bad. I think we still lose that one, but we definitely could have played that one a lot better. So now we know what we're playing against. We can probably get rid of the Sejiri Steppe and have this Abrupt Decay in. Do I want this Ghost Quarter? I think we do want the Ghost Quarter. This Once Upon a Time is going to have to do some real work for us. But turn 1 Collector Ouphe is not nothing. This is a bit of a greedy one to keep, perhaps. I'm going to keep it, though. I think it's okay. Like, the matchup is pretty solid anyway. Just get my free spell going. A Boseiju. Not the one I wanted, but I will take it. Play this out. Play this out. And I will pass. We have a lot of options here. I don't want to burn my Petal on something like a Thoughtseize or whatever, when we can use it to make a 20/20. So any black mana is good here. We've obviously just put 4 cards at the bottom of our library that aren't useful in this situation. Let's power from our opponent. Maybe we should mulligan this hand. I feel bad a little bit that we just mulled a 3 and slapped our opponent around. And now I'm playing a little bit shabbier than normal. Maybe I'm getting slightly complacent because of how good this matchup is. I think in my records it's 67% in our favour. A Goblin Engineer. Let's see what they get. It's an Ensnaring Bridge. We can maybe just blow this up right now. I don't think we need to do this right now. Just can go and get us a swamp here. So we could Abrupt Decay this. We could Thoughtseize them. We could play the Hexmage. That doesn't seem great to me. We want to keep this Lotus Petal around. I'm reluctant about the Abrupt Decay because it could be like a bait for something else our opponent's doing. We have an answer to the Ensnaring Bridge anyway. So I think we're more incentivized here to cast the Thoughtseize than anything else. What we got here? Painted Servant, Red Elemental Blast. I don't really want them to have an artifact here. I'll take the Painted Servant, I think. The Mages of the Moon will blow up their own stuff as well. Mountain. You get attacked here. So next turn this pops and gives them something to be getting on with. I think if we make a 20/20, they'll probably just get the Ensnaring Bridge. So let's just go into that mode here. We'll make this now. I think in our opponent's upkeep, we're going to make our 20/20. Because we don't want them getting a Pithing Needle here. So this will stop our opponent from doing Mages of the Moon this turn. So we'll still have green mana on our turn. And what they're going to do is they're going to get an artifact, and then they're going to put this Ensnaring Bridge into play, then we're going to blow it up and swing for 20. But yeah, maybe this wasn't the strongest keep, but I like our position right now. It's a case of what they do with the rest of their mana this turn that concerns me the most. Soul Guide Lantern. I don't think that means anything. I think it's just a relatively disposable thing, and maybe they're worried we have some sort of Life from Alone action. So in comes the bridge. Yeah, this is exactly how we drew up this game going. Either blowing up their Blood Moon or blowing up their bridge. They're not going to be very happy with this, but it is what it is. Chat for 20. Yeah, so our hand could have been a little bit stronger, but we definitely had tools, and this matchup is so cold to us in general that we can kind of style on them a little bit here. I feel a bit bad for the first game, but we, you know, I did mention that we had 8 draws that get us to turn 2 there. So we worked towards those draws and it was fine. Okay, let's go to the final round. We're currently 3-1 looking for the 4-1. All right, what are we doing with this opener? We turn 1, Bayou, Lotus Petal, go and get Dark Depths. Turn 2, play Dark Depths, Lotus Petal, Hexmage. That's fine, that's a turn 2. If our opponent's running like counter magic, that can be annoying for us if they're running... Okay, so we're looking at some sort of big mana deck over there. Understood. Could be Carnforge or whatever. Carnforge is making a little bit of resurgence in the last few days. I've been seeing it online a little bit more. Oh, okay. I guess we just go Sylvan Scrying here. Get that sweet Dark Depths action. Now, the issue is our opponent could just play the One Ring next turn, and then the turn after they could draw their whole deck. Now, we have great sideboarding for this, but game 1 is pretty rough. Right, we should kill them before the Urza Saga pops. Grim Monolith. Alright, that's a lot of mana, especially with this Manifold Key. But we've got... Okay, Khan the Great Creator. What's so great about him? Disruptor Flute. They don't have the mana. Oh, sorry about that. Just had a bit of a cough. I was going to say, they didn't have the mana to play it right there. Oh, my voice has gone. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay. Not being able to use our Lotus Petal was actually a big deal here. It means we can't tutor for a Boseiju and fire it off immediately. So we get this. We can make a 20/20, or we can kill their Khan. I think making the 20/20 is better, but it's an interesting trade-off. So we do have a 20/20 next turn anyway. We'll see what they go and find with this. Like, if they just go and like dump a Lattice in play, then maybe we have to kill the Khan so we can still use our permanents. Just going to be an Ensnaring Bridge, perhaps? A Portable Hole. Okay, they're going to untap their Grim Monolith here. So they're going to Disrupt the Flute, naming the Hexmage. So if we do this, they then Portable Hole our thing. That is kind of interesting. Okay. So we're just going to attack the Khan instead of sacrificing it. Oh, they've named Thespian stage. Okay, so now they're going to Portable Hole this. That's fine. We'll kill the Khan. So I've used an entire Khan just defensively there. So we probably have to go and get Boseiju. Okay, they got nothing. They got nothing. They get to make a construct, which will beat us down, but won't be the quickest of clocks. A Hexmage that we've just drawn again. Well, our opponent's not going to like it. So I think we want the Bayou and the Lotus Petal here. And I think we will Sylvan Scrying as well. And we're going to go and get this Boseiju. Do I think they have a 1-mana answer to our thing? No, but they probably have a Pithing Needle. I'm just going to make this now and pass. So what can they get off of this saga? It can't get things like Portable Hole because it can only get things that cost 1 colourless or 0. Oh, sorry, 1 generic or 0, not specifically colour. They probably know whether or not they're dead based on having their draw now. But we can answer a lot of their problem permanents using this Boseiju. And then we get to board into Collector Ouphe. Alright, let's board into Collector Ouphe. Okay, so we don't really need the Bojuka Bog. We don't really need the Sejiri Steppe. Don't really need the Knot of this World. We can trim a Bayou here. So we want the Boseiju, the Ouphes, the Abrupt Decays, and possibly even the Duress. So we probably get rid of these Inquisitions. They don't actually hit very much in our opponent's deck. So we have one more cut to if we want the Duress. I think we probably do want the Duress. And we're probably looking at getting rid of this Ghost Quarter. I think that makes the most sense. It's either that or one Lotus Petal to stop Khan messing us up. But having the acceleration can be really key here. So I'm going to go for this Ghost Quarter. So we have quite a significant board here. In this matchup, you can board out one Sylvan Scrying if you want to. What does this do? This is a turn 2 2020, and we have access to some other stuff. I'm going to keep this. We get to look 5 deep and hopefully find ourselves like an Ouphe or whatever. Nothing off of this tower. Okay. Just the Tower of Power. Let's cast this Once Upon a Time. Collector Ouphe, Collector Ouphe. I do like Collector Ouphe. Should we just take the Collector Ouphe here? This costs us our Lotus Petal. Or we could go stage Spirit Guide. If we go stage Spirit Guide here to play this Collector Ouphe, then we can also Thoughtseize them. But then we're looking for mana, and we have no real mana available right now. Interesting. Actually, no, yeah, so we're going to do it off of the Lotus Petal here. I don't think our opponent will be bringing in Dismember for this matchup. It's possible. Many things are possible. But I can still like Khan and get something from the sideboard, which is why this Pithing Needle was going to name Khan the Great Creator. Wouldn't mind seeing a mana source here. Did not see a mana source. I'm going to attack for 2. Play this Pithing Needle. Khan the Great Creator. So the only other thing we're worried about now is Urza's Saga, really. Unless they can answer our permanents, of course. And that doesn't help us out too much here. So we can attack. And then we have a choice. We can use this temporary mana to find permanent mana. Or we could just find one piece of mana. But if we find a black source, we can disrupt our opponent's hand. So I think it's worth Once Upon a Timing here. We can obviously find an Urborg. Boom. So we could Thoughtseize, or we could just deploy this Hexmage. I think we're just going to deploy the Hexmage. We've got a plan here. Beat our opponent down for many damages. I wonder what's in our opponent's hand. Our opponent's paying some costs. We've got Dismember on our Collector Ouphe. That doesn't help here. A Kozilek's Command, sure. But that's a Kozilek's Command that's not being pointed at our Collector Ouphe. So maybe doing the Thoughtseize would have made sense there. Let's attack. I believe this Collector Ouphe can go all the way. It often does in this matchup. Right, let's Thoughtseize. What do we have here? 2 Flesh Rakers are kind of annoying, so I guess we take one of those out. Mystic Forge can be annoying if they get any more mana. Why are they not playing these out? I guess they don't want us to sort of go up the curve of stuff, do they? Yeah, we should have Thoughtseized before we made our Marit Lage. That was a bit sloppy as well. Sorry, back into this league is falling apart in my brain. Let's have a look. I'm recording these 2 rounds separately as well, actually. Let's have a think. It probably is just a Flesh Raker here. And we play this. We'll name Urza's Saga. Yeah, we could have just won this game if we just Thoughtseize before doing that. Right, let's Thoughtseize and take the other Flesh Raker. The clock continues to clock. So if we draw a green source into any of our tutors, we can make a Marit Lage as well. We could have won this game by now if we'd have used our cards more appropriately. Our opponent is getting a bit unlucky with their mana as well. We are shutting off loads of stuff in their deck, but even so. Alright. We just need a green source, really. Or 6 more turns of Collector Ouphe. Alright, we got that, and that is the league, and we finished with a very large 4-1 here for some reason. Let's make it smaller. Alright, yeah, so we finished with a 4-1. That last game I played a little bit sloppily, and there was a bit against Painter where I forgot about the Brayer's Apprentice being able to sacrifice itself. Been playing too much and watching too much Legion Extruder, perhaps, which can't sacrifice itself. I don't know, but yeah, I should have done that the way we did. But that matchup, like I said, is very solid, so I was more than happy to kind of... Well, I shouldn't have been happy to rest on my laurels, but it worked out okay. And the Khan Forge deck, we play it differently against them. We're not like racing to the combo, but it's a thing we can do if they're tapping out. But it was sloppy not to Thoughtseize then and just make our guy when Kozilek's Command is a thing. And we should have read into it because they're not playing any cards from their hand. So what are they doing? That was just sloppy from me entirely in that last game. But we finished with the 4-1. Deck is sweet. Let's talk about it. So this is the build I've been on for a while. I've said several times that the Duress and the Boseiju are flex slots in my opinion, but I wouldn't change anything in the main deck. I think this is really, really sweet. The Once Upon a Time has been excellent. Just on average, when I've been recording it, this makes us about 0.7 turns faster or something silly like that than where we were at before. So it is making our deck faster, and it also makes it a lot smoother. And I think what it does for our sideboard is really key here. It makes the Safekeeper, the Macabre, and the Collector Ouphe a lot more likely to hit. So all of a sudden, this becomes a thing that is empowering our sideboard instead of just our main deck. It's absolutely making the choices we have here better. Like, it can obviously find us Boseijus as well. It's doing a lot of work for us. So I am very much on this build. You can play a slightly different build if you want to, where you cut the 3 Once Upon a Time and you add in 2 pieces of Hand Disruption and 1 Not of This World. You will not have a smoother game, but you will have lots of protection and maybe you can push through. But I think the Once Upon a Time is just so big in speeding us up, and in a format that is about 50% combo at the top sort of proportion. If we look at challenges and stuff, we look at top 8s of challenges, like the winners method of challenges, so the 5-2 decks or whatever, they tend to be 50% combo at the moment. So being able to go faster is really, really clutch right now. And the fact that we pack main deck Graveyard Hate that we can reach for is another useful tool at our disposal. So yeah, I'm just a big fan of Turbodepths. I think the last time we ran this, we also went 4-1. So we're missing out on the trophy a little bit. There are obviously some tough matchups for us, like the Green-White Depths, that we managed to get through that. But the Blue-White decks are very tough. Not as tough as Bant. That was the worst, but that's not really a thing right now, thankfully. But yeah, this is actually a great time to be playing Dark Depths because you have Disruption that works quite nicely. So you got your Thoughtseizes and stuff. You have a quick combo. You have some good tools to interact. Like Pithing Needle is actually really good against a lot of the combo decks. You know, like Sephard at Breakfast or Karn Forge or whatever, or Painter. We just have some good matchups into some of the combo decks that people are playing right now. And we have some pretty big sideboard haymakers. It's not often you see 3 Collector Ouphes, but here we are. So yeah, if you like this deck, check out my Patreon. The middle tier on my Patreon has my 50+ page guide. I put out a sideboard matrix for this deck every month as well, or if I change it more than once a month. And there's other articles I write. So if you are interested in learning about this deck and seeing what it can do, I highly recommend that. Obviously I would, because I get paid for Patreon. But I'm quite proud of the work I've put into it. And I'm regularly rattling off 4-1s with this deck on the channel for you. So there's clearly something there. And I'm a big lover of this delicious 2020 action, which you are coming to my channel expecting most of the time, I would imagine. Alright, thank you once again so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.